Hey YouTube, welcome to the channel. My name is Rich. The name of the channel is Rich the Return Rider. For all you folks that's here for the first time, thanks for tuning in. For all of you folks that are return viewers, I appreciate you coming back. For all that subscribe to the channel, appreciate the support. For you folks that haven't yet subscribed, guys, hit that subscribe button so we can continue to bring you some of this content. What you're looking at there, guys, or you're listening to, is the rhythm and the beat of the Suzuki Boulevard M109R, 118 foot-pounds of torque, 125 to 128 horsepower, 1800cc V-twin of Suzuki's muscle cruiser. I'm gonna start out here doing a little figure eight, guys. A little bit of emergency braking. Important on this bike, guys, this model of Suzuki does not have any ABS brakes. So it's important that, especially on a cool day here, I am bringing this video to you from Lake City, Florida. This is January 29th, 2024. We are at 60 degrees today, even though the breeze feels a little cool out here. But yeah, guys, using these brakes, lots of times while using these brakes, I easily feel a little bit of a lockup. But yeah, guys, let's get to it, man. I'm hoping some of you folks in the other parts of the country that is experiencing a little bit of funky weather can live vicariously through me as we get out and cruise on the back roads of Lake City. Throttle therapy, guys, that's what this is all about here. Yeah, off a couple of days from work, excited to get out as we bring this video to you. No destination in mind, just gonna go out and get some gas there, as I can see my gas gauge starting to blink. Now, I've recently done a video, well, a little while back, talking about purchasing mistakes of the M109R. And on that video, I had a comment that clearly says, as I'm addressing the title that you might be looking at there, second gear failure of the M109R. And plain and simply, that commenter just said, Suzuki has never resolved that second gear fix, that second gear failure. And as I reach back out to the person and say, elaborate, never got a response back, and that's cool. What they forced me to do is to do my research. And what I did is I remember watching a video by Bicasso, M109 content creator. Of course, he's moved on to a lot of different other bikes, talking about the M109R as being the worst motorcycle he has ever owned. Now, I know that title might seem a little misleading there, because he did go into his experience of owning the M109R in the earliest stages and purchasing one with that second gear failure. He has then came back and made another video saying why the M109R is the best motorcycle he's ever owned. Now, what I'm going to say, folks, is in his video, and like I always say in my videos, the motorcycle community out there know more about motorcycle than I would ever probably learn. Plain and simple, I always say they have forgotten more stuff than I would ever learn. So when I listen to some of these folks talk about the motorcycles, again, they don't know if I explained, but this is my journey back into riding motorcycles after being away from 20 plus years. I came from the world of sports bikes. And when I got back into riding, guys, the M109R was the first purchase that I have made a couple of years ago. And as I did my research after watching his video, I I got the impression that as Suzuki have had this problem in the early years, I think he did go through the different years of the changes of the motorcycle. Now this is a motorcycle that's been out from 2005, 2006, and it's still in production today, as far as I know, with very few changes. Now in his video he did explain that Suzuki had upgraded some of the parts that have caused that second gear failure. As I did my research, folks, I found out more and more that Suzuki might not have actually fixed that problem. They might have gone to workarounds. Now, what I'm fishing for in a video like this, to some of you folks out there, is what was the workaround? Did Suzuki ever corrected the problem with the second gear failure? And why that's important to me, guys, is with this motorcycle being a muscle cruiser that it is, when it comes to riding a bike hard, I choose to ride this motorcycle almost like it's a sports bike. But after getting some of the information, or receiving some of the information that I've received, when it comes to shifting and so forth for this motorcycle, now I have always got into shifting my sports bikes, in some cases not even using the clutch, but loading the throttle, loading the pedal, releasing a little bit of throttle and shifting the bike, almost like what you call race shifting it. It was told years ago by mechanics that it doesn't hurt the bike unless you do something wrong or you mistime it or whatever. But anyway, I have resorted back to shifting this motorcycle like the manufacturers have decided it should be shifted. Again, for the fear that Suzuki has not fully addressed the problem that was a weakness in this bike. And I gotta admit, folks, I'm a little disappointed about that. And why I'm doing this video is I recently had in the comment section of that video that I did, a 70-year-old that has been away from riding motorcycles for a while. He's also a return rider and is on the verge or considering purchasing the M109R as his re-entry back into riding motorcycles. Now, I have always somewhat endorsed my bikes. I own this. I own this is the 2012. I also own the 2019 Honda Goldwing. And you know, every motorcycle has its pros and its cons. Now, one of my complaints about this motorcycle is that to date, they still have not given us ABS. And I have a problem with that, guys. I think it's part of a safety feature that should be on every motorcycle in production today, especially an 800-pound motorcycle with the kind of girth and power of this bike. But let's talk about that second gear failure and whether it was ever fixed. Now, I've gone to different Suzuki dealerships, or I should say dealerships, and when I ask about that, it's almost like the mechanics is talking about it like it's a problems that, of course, that they aren't aware of. And that's understandable. I mean, unless they are M109R enthusiasts or owners, I can see where that might not be an issue. One of the things one of the mechanics also said to me, well, hey, if you abuse any motorcycle, you know, you're going to have some failure. Now, I've been to the forums, I've been to different sites where folks, especially in the earlier years, have had this motorcycle for 3 or 4 years, talk about breaking it in, babying it, and still had the failure. The failure was a manufacturer's, I believe, was a manufacturer's defect. And if Suzuki has never fully addressed it, it's a bad deal, guys. It's almost like me and my friends back in the days building our American Muscle. We are putting cams in. We are having pistons bored out. We are building as much performance in our engines as we can get without taking into consideration that the failure that we're going to encounter is going to come in a different part of the drivetrain. The transmissions that are not beefed up to accommodate what was a 200 or 300 horsepower car that we now have almost 500 horsepower in. And we expect the transmission in the rear end to be able, the stock transmission in the rear end, to be able to help with the power that we are now distributing. It's a bad design, guys, but to our credit, we are not engineers. As Suzuki have built this motorcycle with the kind of girth, performance, and beefiness that it have, and have given us a subpar drivetrain, it's just a bad design, guys. So, for any of you folks out there that knew whether Suzuki has ever resolved that issue, leave it in the comment section. Now, when I was changing the clutch on the M109R, I did remember that there were different clutch plates and discs to accommodate the different generations of the M109R, and one person did suggest that adding more discs and plates to that case, to that clutch case, was one of the fix-arounds of the spacing of that second gear failure. Anyway, folks, just want to do a little video out there, man, hoping that I can get some information. I have reached out to different people on whether this was ever resolved. I think Brandon Bicasso did talk about after the 2010 or 11 or so that there was some changes made to address that second gear failure. But I have recently heard somebody that have the 2019 also complain about that second gear failure, saying it was never resolved. Anyway, guys, leave it in the comment section below whether Suzuki has ever addressed this problem, or it is still something of concern in this beast, the M109R. Anyway, folks, you know what I'm always going to say in my videos, man. I don't care what you ride, add some protection to the motorcycle, get in these parking lots, practice emergency braking and swerving. At the end of the day, it's better that you drop your bike on the concourse or in the parking lot than to crash them out there on the streets. Rich out on the beast Susie, the 2012 M109R, and I am out.